Welcome. In this tutorial, we're going to be reviewing how to read your Equifax consumer disclosure. Your consumer disclosure is actually a credit report, but it's the credit report that is mandated by Congress that each of the credit reporting agencies or credit bureaus have to provide free to consumers who ask once per year. In this tutorial, we're going to be working on how to interpret your Equifax credit report and what the key elements are so you can understand exactly where you are now and where you need to go. If you're a CreditSense client, you will understand from your worksheets individual tasks that you're going to need to perform in order to complete your credit optimization program. So let's begin. First of all, here are the section titles, all the things that we're going to be going through one by one. The first and most important area is the credit summary. They segregate the accounts by mortgage, installment, revolving, and other. So in this client's credit report, you'll see the numbers here. Yours, of course, will vary, but as we move down, some very important things begin to show up. You want to look at the account age. Of course, the longer something is open, the better it is for your credit score. But it gives you an average age of the accounts, what the oldest account is, and the most recent account. If you're a CreditSense client, this will help you in completing the worksheets you've been assigned to do for looking at your average ages, your oldest and youngest or most recent accounts. Here, it actually tells you what those particular accounts are. And in the Equifax, they start out with inquiries, credit inquiries that are known as for business purposes or a legitimate new credit inquiry. Stay on your credit report for 2 years, but only count against your credit score for 12 months. So next, we look at the potentially negative information, and this particular person has 2 public records against them, 6 other negative accounts, and 1 collection. These negative accounts can be charge-offs, lates, etc. Now, under mortgage accounts, it's going to tell us what the closed accounts are first, and then if there are any open accounts. So we would take a look at, there's GMAC, and it gives us all the information we would want to look at. Notice this account was charged off. For privacy purposes, the account number has been X'd out, that it was a joint account, and it tells us when it was opened and the date of the last payment. Okay? It also tells us the date of major delinquency was first reported, what the charge-off amount was, etc. Now, every single account is going to have all of this information. Equifax is very good about laying out a great deal of information in a reasonably well-designed way. Now, you'll notice here that what is in red are your 120 days and 150-day lates. Charge-off is what happened here, so you can tell it went from, in 2009, 30, 60, then it got caught up, another 30, another 60, then it went to a 90, those are all yellow, went to 120, 150, and was charged off. So this gives you an idea of the payment history for this particular account. Moving on, there was another GMAC mortgage, and again, date opened, date of last payment, date of last activity, scheduled payment amounts, etc. This date there is no date closed included, but the date of last activity was 1 of 2007. So this one, however, is paid as agreed. So you can tell that here we have the the closed accounts, and then this one was a closed account, but it was paid as agreed as well. There is no 81-month payment history available for this particular account. Now, going to the Loan Servicing Center as a completely separate one, they're reporting and all of the information is here. If you're a CreditSense client, you're going to want to review every single one of these to make sure you pull out the important information to put in your calculators, your worksheets, and your tables. So the date opened, the date closed in this case, etc., all need to be included in your particular worksheets that you're working on. Now, this one was a joint account, but since it was a mortgage, it was also an installment. They're saying a type of account is a mortgage, and they separate that from other installment accounts. So the type of account here would be mortgage. On your worksheets or your calculators, this would be counted as an installment loan. And it has its own 81-month payment history as well. Now, leaving the real estate or mortgage loans, we go to the installment accounts, and it's listing the open accounts currently. And as you see, direct loans here's where you'll find the account number, date opened, no date closed because it's open. It shows that it's an education loan. So all of the information that you need to fill out your tables or to understand whether or not this account, as it's reported, is accurate, will be here in these tables. So again, we have another direct loan, etc. We don't need to go through every single account, but you will see the important information. This one is this pays as agreed. It's an installment loan. Here's the date that it was open, and it's an educational loan. So let's continue down to the closed accounts. The closed accounts, again, if you're a CreditSense client, you're going to want to put down the close date for the various installment and revolving accounts, depending on what worksheet you're on. So here, it's an installment account. There's the date that it was open and the date that it was closed, so you can get kind of so it can contribute to your average age. The type of loan here is that it's an auto loan, and it's paid as agreed, but it is closed. Okay, continuing here, shows all green, so is all paid as agreed. Each account has the exact same look and feel. Let's make it a little bit smaller so we can see more on a page. So each account has all of this information available to you if you're a CreditSense client, to fill out your information, and if you are not a CreditSense client, to be able to establish whether or not these particular accounts are being reported accurately, and whether or not you may need some assistance in making sure that they are being reported accurately, so you can have the most number of credit score points contributing to your score. So now we have Chase Auto Finance. Again, date open, date closed. It's an auto loan here. And we go every single account has the exact same information. Now, you will notice in the CreditSense YouTube channel that we have how to read different types of credit reports. This is for the consumer disclosure that you get from annualcreditreport.com, and it's the Equifax report. Every report and every bureau has its own way of reporting issues. So you're going to want to compare and contrast what is being reported in each report so you can get the most number of facts and the highest degree of accuracy. All right, so let's go down to the next section. We're going to go through all of the closed loans. And the next section that we run into are the revolving accounts. So we had mortgage accounts, installment accounts, both open and closed. Now we have the revolving accounts, and these are the open ones. Now, this is an America First Credit Union bank card. So the credit limit is $300. It's a line of credit, all right? It's not a credit card. It is the check guarantee of a line of credit. So if you're a CreditSense client going through the 8 Steps to 800 optimization program, you want to put this down as a line of credit because they're not as valuable as a regular credit card is. Again, listed as a line of credit here and the date that it is open. Okay? Continuing, notice there's one 30-day late on that particular card. So that would be dealt with in your when you're auditing for accounts that are being reported accurately. America First Credit Union, notice this is a credit card. It has a $500 limit, and the date it was open. So you're going to pull the salient information out of these. Each of these are called a trade line. So you're going to pull this information off, and if you're a CreditSense client, put it on your tables and in your spreadsheets and calculators. If you're not a CreditSense client, you're going to use this to compare how this stacks up against your other credit reports. All right, continuing. Now, each one of these are open, and again, you have different Mountain High Federal Credit Union with the date open. It's a line of credit, and notice the lines of credit are usually around $300. So they are not high value. They are not high value contributors to your revolving accounts portfolio. All right. Then now we have revolving accounts, but these are the closed accounts. And we have a bank card, a line of credit that was closed, and that was paid in full or paid as agreed. And then there's the credit union that's actually a credit card with a $500 balance, and it was refinanced out. So it doesn't show a closed date, but it was basically swapped. In this particular client's case, it was swapped for the new card that we looked at a little earlier. All right. Now I wanted to show you one of the indicators for CreditSense clients. One of the indicators we've discussed are finance company cards. Well, this is JCPenney, a popular and very large department store chain. But notice, see this GECRB? That is the indicator saying that JCPenney's does not carry its own paper. It is not financing its own credit lines that it offers to consumers and shoppers. It is being carried by somebody else. So that means that this is a 40% card, whereas if it didn't have that, if JCPenney's, like Nordstrom's, carries its own paper, and therefore it is a 60% valuation card. So I just wanted to point that out so you can see exactly how you can see whether or not something is a store card, department store card, or a finance company card. And again, all of the information is always laid out here. Notice there's far more information available to fill out than is actually completed. So that's why it's important to have the different credit reports so that you can have the most information about each trade line. All right, continuing. Now notice, Target National Bank, Target carries its own paper. So Target is, just like I said about Nordstrom's, Target is a department store card. So it is, even though it says Target National Bank, that means it's organized a financing bank so to carry all of its own credit lines that it offers consumers and shoppers. So it is a 60% card. And again, all the information is there. Here you can easily see where the lates come in. Now, if you're a CreditSense client, this will make more sense to you, but notice how long it's been since there was a 30 or a 60-day late. It was back in 2008. That's sufficient time to get a goodwill card. So make sure, so this client would put this account on their goodwill worksheet so that they can get this particular item deleted or talk to the creditor about getting it deleted. All right, now here is more information about like payment history key. So we have already discussed green is good, 30, 60, and 90 is yellow, and then 120, 150 to 180, which is 6 months late. And then there's charge off is CO, collection account, foreclosure, voluntary surrender of a car or a home, repossession, etc. So those are the keys that you would be looking up in each one of the accounts indicated above. Now, we're going to take a look here at inquiries. Now, notice down here, there's prefixes. A PRM is basically a an inquiry that is for marketing purposes. An AM or an AR is an account review. So it's a current creditor who's just reviewing your account. We call those soft pulls. And then an employee is a pull. It's a soft pull, as we call it, a soft pull because it doesn't count the 6 to 10 points against your credit report. If you have a PR, then that is part of a portfolio that one creditor is buying from another. Again, it doesn't count point-wise against your credit score. Now, if it says Equifax or EFX, that is a consumer disclosure. That is where you have actually requested. So this client, when they got this credit report, it shows right here, Equifax on 3/2, they pulled the credit report. So that is a consumer disclosure. And then Fair Isaac, it was pulled for TransUnion and Equifax because we will be using this same client when we review the myfico.com credit reports. Those were pulled on the same day and those show up, but they are consumer disclosures. The only one here that is not, see, there's an ND, PRM. The only one who is not, that does count against the score is First Advantage Credco. That is the mortgage report that we pulled for this particular client. That one does cost 6 to 10 points against the credit score. But as you can see, for CreditSense clients, all of these credit reports were pulled on the same day. So we now have an accurate picture as of 3/2 as to where this client is in their credit reporting process. All right, continuing down, let's look at negative accounts. Now, they're again separated by open and closed accounts, but as you can see, every one of these are the negative accounts, and they hold these negative accounts towards the end, and they keep the positive ones up above. But here is a 30-day late, another 30-day late, and here is the 120, 150 that we discussed earlier. So they have taken, there is some duplication here, but they listed all of the installment and all of the revolving, both open and closed. Now in this section, they're listing all negative accounts. So it is a additional listing, or they are listing it for the second time so that you can see exactly what is negative or counting against your credit score. So every one of those are listed again. The next section is the collection section, and it shows who the collection agency is and what the account is. This is a medical or healthcare classification. The classification is important because if this was a collection account for a charged off credit card, then we would want, for CreditSense clients, you would want to optimize that card and put it into the appropriate worksheet and table so that you would be able to count when it should be deleted. Here, this is 7 months or 7 years from the date that it was assigned. So that's for CreditSense clients, that's the 7-year that you start calculating when this item would be deleted without any intervention by you doing credit restoration activities. So there's Bonfield Collections, Action Collections. It's a storage company. It says medical and says storage. Welcome to credit reporting. So you would want to use your other credit reports to validate what kind of account this was. And it is unpaid here, unpaid here. And so know that if you pay these, the clock is not supposed to start again. It's from the date that it was reported. So while you're negotiating with your creditors or these collection agencies, make sure that the date of last activity does not, here's the date reported, date assigned, and the status date. Make sure none of those dates change if you make a payment or pay it off. part of the reason why date of first delinquency shows that they're trying to show that this has been delinquent perhaps several times. All right. There's all of the collections. And then there's a public record section. It shows the type of judgment. It shows the court address. It shows who has the judgment and the defendant name. In this case, it's Ray. So everything here, every type of judgment would be listed here. Now, what most people don't understand, and this is a very vital part of, and if you're a CreditSense client, it's why we develop a credit identity, is because with your credit identity, notice we have a current address and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 previous addresses. That messes up your underwriting scores because you get additional points if you are in the same address for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, and 7+ years. So developing a credit identity helps you age. Regardless of where you move, you will be able to establish a good, strong foundation so that you get all the underwriting points and get approved for whatever credit lines or installment loans that you're looking to get approved on. And then, of course, it shows employment history and if there are any alerts, fraud alerts, identity theft alerts, etc. The rest is basically one of the things we want you to remember is if you want to dispute anything that you're going to be doing, all that information is contained here. Here is an address to dispute, or you can call. And then it gives you your rights under the Fair Credit Reporting Act. Okay, that brings to a conclusion our review of how to interpret, how to read the Equifax online consumer disclosure that is mandated by Congress and offered at annualcreditreport.com for free once per year per consumer.